Hello, hello, and thanks for stopping by. This is Berserk for the Atari 2600, produced by Atari in 1982, from an arcade game created and released by Stern Electronics in 1980. I'm playing the game from a cartridge on a Retron 77. Berserk is just a classic arcade game that received many ports onto different systems. This is the Atari 2600 version in all its glory. Berserk is a simple enough game to understand. Stay alive as long as possible and get as many points as you can. You get points when robots are destroyed, and mostly that is it. There are a total of 12 game variants, but I'm not going to go through them all. Basically, these add an additional threat, or give you extra lives after you hit a particular score total. And I'm going to be forthright here. I played this game a lot as a kid, but I don't remember ever playing any of these variants. When I bought the game just recently, I played a bunch and never even attempted to read the manual. And then, eventually, I was doing research for this, and I did. And then I found out that there was more to the game. Evil Otto is apparently an additional enemy you can have in the game, if you want it. I didn't know he even existed before I started recording footage for this video. I always thought that the difficulty of the game ramped up enough on Game 1, so I never wanted to make it any harder. Apparently, Evil Otto is a big deal in the arcade version, and I had no idea. Okay, let's get to the basic gameplay. The game starts, and you spawn into a room of some sort, and your goal is to just get out of the room alive. There are robots in the room with you, randomly spawned in, and they want you dead. The robots can fire a laser at you, and if they hit, you lose a life, and it only takes one hit. You have a laser too, of course, so besides running out of the room, this is really all you have to survive. There are things to be aware of when shooting your laser. First, you can shoot in 8 directions, all around, which is great. The problem is you can only have one projectile on the screen at a time, so if you shoot at a long distance, the laser has to hit something, a wall or a robot, before you can fire again. You'll need to adjust to this. You can't just constantly shoot, because it will end up leaving you exposed. You need to learn exactly where your laser blasts originate from on your avatar as well. It's not something that just shoots from center mass. It comes from different places depending on the direction you're firing. So when trying to outshoot a robot, your exact positioning becomes very important. You'll understand this after a few games when you're trying to shoot upwards or at an angle and you're trying to avoid a laser at the same time. Now the walls. The walls are important. The levels are randomly generated, and it's important to know you can't touch the walls, or you will get electrocuted and lose a life. The thing is, the robots also can get electrocuted if they walk into a wall, so sometimes it's better to let a robot kill themselves as opposed to you exposing yourself to try to get a shot. Also important, you don't have to kill all the robots on screen. If one is too tough to get to because of their position, why bother struggling? Just go on to the next room if you can. In this game, you'll get points when a robot's destroyed, but what's great about it too is it doesn't matter if you shot it or if it just walked into a wall. Same thing, same score. Your positioning in the level is going to be random, so you need to quickly determine what to kill, what to avoid, or if you should run around or wait. As you progress in the game, the room colors will change, as do the robot colors. The difficulty also increases, and they'll start to move or shoot faster as you continue to clear these levels. If you can dodge a robot blast on level 1, by the time you hit level 8 or so, dodging is going to be close to impossible. You just don't move that fast. The basic things to remember, always remember these. Don't touch anything. You need to be careful. Don't race out of the room if you can, because you're going to walk into a wall. The rooms are procedurally generated and always different, so there's nothing to memorize in terms of room layout. And last, when a new level starts, you have to pay attention, especially on the higher levels, because they could spawn a robot right next to you. So don't just jump into a room and fire, because if you fire in the wrong direction before you realize the robot's on your left, now you have to wait for that blast to disappear so you can suddenly shoot it. Let's talk about the robots just for a second here. I know this is a straightforward game, and there's nothing that's too crazy going on here, but the one thing that is going on here are the robots. And I don't know what it is, but I think these robots look particularly awesome in their simplicity. They just really look good, like these roving, hulking, monstrous machines that are stomping along after you. They just look great. Now, Berserk isn't what I'd call an amazing game, but it's simple enough and straightforward enough that anyone should be able to get into it for at least a little while. I suppose I'd put it in the classification of Atari games I have, where it'll hold my attention for about 10 minutes or so before I move on to something else. There was an arcade version that I never personally saw in an arcade, but I did catch some gameplay online, and it's certainly similar. I think the most immediate difference between the two was probably the scale of the game. The graphics are much larger in the Atari version, and as a result, the room just feels smaller and less like a maze. There was also a sequel to Berserk out there. I didn't realize at first. It's called Frenzy, and I know it was available on the ColecoVision. It may exist on other systems, but I haven't researched too deep into it yet. I do hope to get a copy of Frenzy eventually, though. Maybe I'll let that show up in a later video. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you next time.